I want to get to this idea of why being an invisible executive is a problem. Is it a problem? Why is this not an evil or egregious way to be effective in your career? What do we need to know that may even just spark some interest in one or two people who are listening to this to understand the upsides and the downsides of what's happening there and how it can be appropriate for them?
The pros of having an active LinkedIn presence. It actually combats ageism because having an active presence on a professional social media platform shows that you're tech savvy, you're adaptable. That tells recruiters, that tells other executives, that tells companies you are savvy in networking, you're personable, you can build relationships, and that you are confident in your knowledge and your expertise and your experience to share that with your network. You become a thought leader.
The idea of job security is outdated as a landline. If you haven't been in a search for a while, it's probable you will at some point, by choice or not. Most executives admit to staying way too long or sense what's coming and justify staying anyway. Here, there's another reason. The faulty belief that navigating to what's next will inevitably be worse and has to suck. Screw that. Loren has spent a lifetime in corporate and executive search, calling bullshit on stale career advice that most still use. This is Career Blast in a Half, the career podcast for executives ready to cut past outdated career advice to fuel your outcomes now. So let's go.
We're back. I love bringing in a topic that is juicy, but also a little bit on the gritty side. Something that comes up on the regular, something that I hear, and that is, why do I have to go on LinkedIn? Or I don't do social media. Or, do I have to? These are verbatims from a lot of the folks that I work with when they come into Portfolio Rocket, and they are primarily older workers. When I say older, I'm talking about those over 40. And there's some kind of negative and even shameful idea that they have to, number one. And number two is that there's something like spammy, ugly, gross about being on social media in the absolute, but especially on LinkedIn. So I brought in Corey Hurley, who is not only a social media strategist, but somebody that I greatly admire. And I met her while she was in a parking lot. This is true. In a parking lot preparing for her TEDx. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because it's going to be released very, very shortly. But the point is that I didn't expect that she was going to be such a wealth of knowledge and have so much insight on social media as it relates to older workers and what that means, because we didn't necessarily grow up in this whole world, and how that impacts you, dear listener, who may be wondering why that you have to do that for your career or should do that for your career, and especially in a job search. Corey Hurley, I am so thrilled and delighted that you agreed to do this podcast. And so I just want to welcome you to Career Blast and a Half.
Oh, thank you so much. It is awesome to be here. This is definitely a topic I'm excited to dive into with you. So I'm ready.
All right. When we met and when we had a follow-up conversation, you kind of scoped out the different generations and how they approach social media. And so we are going to take some stereotypical license here, and we are going to categorize people. So if that offends you, you can leave now. But I think it's important to create some benchmarks, not that you aren't an outlier and not that there's anything wrong in any of these camps. But I think it's great to be able to understand how they align with just different ages and phases of our life and of our career. So can you give us some understanding of how that works behind the scenes? Because all we know is we have social media today, right? Like, we're just like, okay, here it is.
So we're going to categorize it into three different generations: the older generation, the middle generation, and the younger generation. And we each have a very different experience with social media. I'm going to start with the middle generation because that's where I am. We grew up in the process of technology developing. The rotary phone, the house phone, the little block Nokia cell phone into iPhones. We saw this development going on year after year after year, and we grew to understand as time went on safety, how to, where it becomes second nature of what we know what to do when we get the new phone. We can see what is real, what is not real. We can kind of tell what is AI generated, what is CGI, what is spam, what is fake, what's a scam. We've developed this eye for it as things were developing because we saw it firsthand.
Wait, can you just also tell us who the we is? Put some parameters. If nobody knows you and doesn't know about what age you are and what generation you're in, could you just give us a little bit of a context?
I am younger millennial. So I'm a 90s baby through and through. So I'm part of the younger end, but I don't fit in with Gen Z. But I'm also not in the Gen X.
Okay.
So then we have the older generation, and this kind of falls into the boomer area. And I could speak on this because also my parents are of that age gap. And there's two different kind of groups. We have the ones that social media's for the kiddos. It's all just dancing. It's just brain rot. It's all about those phones. The kids are on the phones. Not that they're necessarily wrong in that aspect, but that's a stereotype. So then we have the other group that has tried to adapt to this technology to stay connected with all of the younger generations in their family, trying to stay hip, trying to stay cool, trying to stay in the know, may not be as tech savvy in identifying some of the landscapes in social media of believing everything that they might read, falling victim to some scams, and not able to really pinpoint or see why are we using this? This is just for fun, and just trying to roll with it. And then we have the younger generation, the Gen Z, and I believe the Gen Alpha, who've been on social media really since they were preteens, even beforehand. They know it. They know like the back of their hand. They talk in memes. They speak in TikToks. They know what is trending. They are really tech savvy, yet some have struggled with developing person to person relationships and communication. So we have a big spectrum where we don't know how to show up on social media or internet. Then we have the I don't know how to show up in real life as a real person because everything is all chronically online.
So when you're on LinkedIn, right? I'm using LinkedIn primarily because that's the most professional social media channel.
Yes.
And I'll say that what I hear on the regular also is that this is the permissible one. So if you are a professional, you may like yield yourself into LinkedIn because it's where all the professionals are. But when you look at that landscape of users, how do older workers, boomers, Gen Xers, how do they represent any of those habits and behaviors that are notable?
Mm-hmm. What I've seen firsthand, and this is going to be two different groups.
Right.
You have those who are running their own business, building their own business, and those who are working for companies.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have seen, and this is just from my personal perspective, what I've seen firsthand, you have those that set up the LinkedIn with a simple profile picture, simple title, and an uploaded resume, and maybe one or two work history spots on their profile. Then you have the others who go full send. You have the ones that with the updated photo that's recent within the last year and a half, the banner, the optimized bio, the list of every single experience of where they've worked, what they've done, the changes that they've made, and an updated about profile that's up and recent within the last few months. And they post frequently. They post what they're doing, what their collaborators and partners are doing, and industry updates. 2 different total personalities, profiles, presences.
Okay, I'm going to give you the shorthand of what I understand those people in both areas are called. The first are essentially the lazy lurkers. And those people, the lazy lurkers, and I know that sounds very heavy-handed, but those people are there, but they're really not in the second group, which are active, right? Very generic terms. People who are lurking, it means that they're consuming the content. It doesn't mean that they're not active. It just means that they're consuming the content. They may not necessarily be commenting or anything like that. And they more or less have set it and forget it. I'm talking about the profile.
Yes.
Is that correct? And then
Yes.
the second group are active and driving connections, engagement, commenting, building reach. And sometimes, right, sometimes those people are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and sometimes they could be thought leaders within their respective industry.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I want to get to this. I want to get to this idea of why being an invisible executive is a problem. Is it a problem? And why is this not an evil, egregious way to be effective in your career? What do we need to know that may even just spark some interest in 1 or 2 people who are listening to this to understand the upsides and the downsides of what's happening there and how it can be appropriate for them?
Okay, I may go on a little tangent. I'm gonna take off.
Take off, baby.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the pros of having an active LinkedIn presence. It actually combats ageism because having an active presence on a professional social media platform shows that you're tech savvy, you're adaptable, you can learn quick, you are savvy in networking, you're personable, you can build relationships, and that you are confident in your knowledge and your expertise and your experience to share that with your network. You become a thought leader. So it's not just, oh, they're older, they're quote unquote stuck in their ways, they know how to use this program and are reluctant maybe to adapt to another. No, because if you showcase all of the things that you've learned and that you're following what is happening, that tells recruiters, that tells other executives, that tells companies, you know what's going on. You can adapt. You are a change maker and a change leader and a thought leader. If you don't have a presence, it may seem that you are not interested, stagnant. You may not care to connect or network. You may not be open or available for other opportunities. Because sometimes people are headhunted versus actively seeking.
Totally,
And
all the time.
That's a big difference.
The idea of the invisibility also, flip side, right? Compromises not only your relevancy, but also sends a signal that you may not know what's going on. And I think the question that I want to ask out of this is the price of invisibility also a signal that says that you're not necessarily somebody who is keen about what is happening for the future of whatever company that is? Because the dynamic nature of LinkedIn allows for real time. I mean, I spend a lot of time learning on LinkedIn. I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm like up leveling in any way that I can. So help us understand also what it might be saying to people you are networking with, trying to drive referrals from, and certainly hiring managers and decision makers.
A simple example could be someone could share a news about an industry, but it's 5 years dated.
Mm.
And if you're making decisions and strategizing based off of information that was quote unquote so last year, is not exactly going to be very effective versus someone who knows, oh, this update came out last month. This is how it's going to change, pivot, impact our program, our offering, our software. You want that person who's going to know and foresee what's coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in the know, you're going to be that proactive person versus someone who might be sitting on expired data who may not be looking or aware of the things that are going to impact the company that you're working at.
Right. I love this point also because many of our clients have been plucked for interviews and also hired based off of what that decision maker or even a networking person saw them do by way of solving a problem in the comments, right?
Yeah.
So it's like real-time problem solving or real-time value add or real-time, points of view that can also share. I like to think of them as auditions, right? This is like a little audition before you get to that coffee, before you get to that interview. They can have a peek into you. And I love what you shared about that, both the upside and the downside. So I don't know about you, but I also run into this all the time. What is your response to the idea when people come to you, or the question when people come to you and say, damn it, do I have to post? And by the way, I don't even know what to post. How do you advise clients in that area so that they are doing it so that it matters? That's how I'm going to say, doing it so it's effective, because I see a lot of people, even our clients, they'll be commenting or posting, and then they're disappointed that it didn't, cut through the noise.
I always start with, what is your purpose and what is your goal? If you're just wanting to get yourself out there, just for anyone who stumbles across your profile to scroll your posts and your profile and see this person knows what they're talking about. They're up to date. I like how they're showcasing their opinion on this or how they would solve this problem. It doesn't have to cut through the noise, but it should be ready for when someone sees that comment you made on someone else's post 3 weeks ago and they see that you are the person that you need to know in this industry.
I'm always curious because at this phase of their career, they've had 20 years, 25 years of experience. And I can understand, okay, you know what? It's they're challenged. This is maybe a new channel for them, but they come with so much experience. So what kinds of experience should they be talking about? Where can they dig in and more or less like strut their stuff, not in a beating chest like I'm an influencer way, but be able to leverage that to their advantage?
An example I could make is, when you're wanting a promotion, you save receipts, you make notes and you save the emails and you save the data points of your successes and your wins. Think of what you're publishing on LinkedIn is just a public version of your wins and successes. It's the place where you can just share that you know what you're doing, not show off, but if you want to, go ahead. But share that you know what you're doing and you are the genius in this area, and that it could be so simple. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be a graphic carousel. It could be a simple post that says, we had this problem today, and I reflected back on something that happened 10 years ago. And that was the ticket, the missing puzzle piece for something that helped me solve a problem today. And that was great. That could be the post.
Right. It really doesn't come with a rule book. You get to decide what it is. I am blowing the lid off of our best kept secret, our 30-day blast program. Yeah, you heard it. 30 days. We have seen so much success for this program that past clients have landed in that 30 days and increased their compensation 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, over 100%. Now, not everybody lands and earns that much in 30 days, but my point is it prepares you. And in 30 days, if you're not out of there with a changed mindset and changed clear and simple ways to be able to navigate the market this year, then we'll gladly refund your misery and you can go back to applying now. Check out the link below for the next 30-day blast, and we would love to have you there because we live for your success, and that's what's really important. See you then. I would love to hear if you have any statistics, any data that talks about what the price is for invisibility and how decision makers are looking for. I mean, I just say it like this: if you're hiding, you're not going to get found, right? Like,
Correct.
You can't have it both ways. You can't wonder why people are not reaching out to you, but yet you're making it more difficult for them to actually find you. So in terms of what it's costing, in terms of their search specifically, any data points or anything that we can lean into to just benchmark this?
I'm going to make a parallel.
Yes.
Say you are searching for a trusted HVAC company before the summer heat pours in. And you find that their page has nothing. Are they still in business? I don't know. Are they the best in the area? I don't know. How big of problems can they solve? I don't know. But their competitor showcases everything. Their last update was 24 hours ago with a new offer and a client win. That they were able to reinstall a whole commercial building at the best rate in the area.
No brainer.
Who's going to win?
Right.
It's the same thing, but for people. You are a puzzle piece in a large company that can solve a lot of problems. Do you want to let them know that you can be this problem solver versus someone who may just have the experience in solving problems? Where's the proof? They want to see that. That will help you stand out. That will get you the connection. That will get you the interview.
And so for all those people who might be saying, my work speaks for itself, right?
Well, where's the work?
Well, where's the work? Exactly. So seeing is part of the credibility and the validation. And I think that it's really important in this world, right? Let's face it. I don't know how many people are going to actually see that piece of paper called a resume, but they can tune in 24/7, no matter what, no matter when. And that gives you the upside of the visibility. Also is a great service to anybody who is looking for that person to speak at a conference, to weigh in a panel, to be sought after for a particular role.
Correct. And even when we think about resumes, it's not even a human being that's going to sort through it first.
Oh,
that's a whole other topic. So if you're someone who's already a standout person in your area, in your field, in your physical demographic, that's going to get passed to an actual human being versus just waiting for your resume to be sorted with matching keywords with some type of software.
Yeah, the AI world, I mean, it's infiltrating everything. So, this is an area of control. You control the content. You can control your comments. You can curate your feed to the degree that, the algorithm will allow you to. And what I always think is super cool is, it may not happen on the first attempt, but the doors are open. You can pretty much meet anyone there. And it may not happen, with one outreach or one comment, but if you're committed to that, it's available. And so I want to kind of take this in that direction. Is what do you say to clients and people who get frustrated when they're not getting the kind of response either through their posts and or connection requests? What do you say to them, or how do you advise them to be able to, stay positive and not kind of get the case of the efforts and want to be like, this didn't work and LinkedIn is just this place for bros and this and that. And how do you combat that?
I make an example of, if you were a brick and mortar store and you had 5 people walk in at the exact same time, you'd be busy. You'd be almost overwhelmed. You might even contemplate, man, if there's 3 more hours of this, I need to hire somebody. So why do we feel that when those 5 people like our posts, it's not enough? Because those 5 people know other 5 people who know other 5 people that might be just that person that can change your life.
Exactly. So I think what you're saying is, like, manage your expectations.
We forget, because everything's online, it seems small. Instead of that face-to-face human connection that feels large and fulfilling, it's just a little notification button instead of that one person who liked it. We feel like we need more. But when we remember that that is an actual person reading that post and engaging with you and taking their time to connect with you, it's the perspective shift versus I think of managing expectation. But that could be the same thing. Expectation is to realize the perspective.
100%. So I want to wrap up with this question, because I'm sure you run into it. I mean, you're a social media strategist. You must hear this all the time. I mean, I would imagine that a lot of people in your world are interested in social media. I will tell you that from the audience's perspective, it's exactly what you described. Some are interested and some are like, talk to the hand, right? Like, no, thank you. Even though at times that is the hand that bites them, right? they want it both ways. So what is kind of your last ditch effort when you are working with somebody or you see that they're resisting? What is that one push that maybe gets them to take even the smallest action to break through the resistance?
That's a tough one, because it really does circle back to their goal and their purpose. And my answer will vary depending on that.
Let's say your goal is to drive referrals or to be found for a particular position, because that's definitely a very big percentage of our listeners.
Yes. So what I often suggest in that particular scenario is to think of your profile as a portfolio, where even if you just refresh it on a regular basis, or you leave it set up where, hey, start here. This was my journey. This is something that I accomplished. This is a case study. This is a client referral. But you keep your bio updated, your about us updated, your tagline updated, your featured links up to date. That puts out that I'm not super savvy in this LinkedIn yet. I'm more of the comments. I'm more of the connection in the DMs person versus posting frequently. But here's what I want to show you, and it's good stuff. So it's similar to someone visiting a website of a company and seeing, oh, this is what they do. This is great. But that CEO of the company or that team might do better doing person-to-person networking. But when you meet that person at an event and you give them their card and they go see that page, it confirms how they interacted in person. Be like, you know what? That is the person. That is who I want to work with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. There is no one bullet, right? And so each of these pieces are amazing layers in terms of understanding who you are as a professional, who you are as a person. And I know that sounds like, well, of course, like, I just want to get hired. But in this day and age, it's not just your keywords. I read a lot of these LinkedIn profiles, and part of what's missing is that there's no story. It has the information, but it doesn't have the transformation. And I think that there's a lot to be said of what social media can do for us by helping to grease the skids, to set up an expectation, to help understand, hey, how does this person think? How does this person interact?
Do they fit into the company culture? Are they a change maker?
Are they a change maker? I mean, you and I could go on all day. But this isn't for us. This is really for you listeners. And what I really want to say to you is, first of all, definitely follow Corey. Reach out to her as somebody who has a handle on social media and specifically how it addresses and how you might fit into this spectrum of people who may not necessarily be native, but need to understand the value of its relevance. And so definitely reach out. But also what I personally want to say to every single one of you is we're running this show and it's the peak of summer. And I could tell you right now, this is the season of relationships. Summer is the best time. So give them something to look forward to when they meet you, because they're going to check out your LinkedIn first. I can pretty much bet my soul on that. So if you are setting those up, be one step ahead. Make sure that that profile isn't just sitting there like a car in a parking lot, right? You want it to be active and on the road, because that helps to remind them that you are current, that you're juiced up and fueled for other things that are coming down the pike.
Love it.
You love it? I just made that up.
Sounds great.
Okay. Thank you everybody for listening. And also, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a special ask. Our podcast is growing. It is really growing, and it's because of you guys. And I want to thank you so much for listening. And thank you to all of the folks who have been writing podcast reviews, because that matters. So if you haven't done that yet, please do. We will also include all these details in the show notes. I can't wait to release this so that your summer is social, and also primed for conversion of referrals and new opportunities. All right. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining today. We appreciate your listening ears. Big time. We ask this: use these tools, not tomorrow, right now, and share them by spreading the love, leaving us a rating and subscribe so you don't miss the next career blast and a half. Most of all, thank you for you.